Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Ricky, and I quit my job hunt in London after many months of trying to find work and to hear nothing back. So what I decided to do is I decided to pack up everything and start traveling. So I first landed in Tbilisi, Georgia, and now I'm here in my second week in Yerevan in Armenia. And so in our last video, I kind of caught you up with everything, why I hadn't been posting in a while, and followed by a cool brandy tour. In fact, it was a tour of the oldest brandy company in Armenia. It's really great. If you haven't seen that yet, check it out here. But this week we are going on a tour of the countryside here in Armenia. We're going to Lake Sevan. I don't know if I said that right. Probably didn't. It's a big lake. I don't think it's a reservoir. I think it's an actual lake. And the guided tour. Then we're also going to go to Dilijan, which I was thinking was like a French thing because, like Dijon mustard. I was thinking like maybe that's like where that mustard's from. But also I thought Dijon was like French. But also like I thought cognac / brandy was like only French. But no, like Armenians like make the best and only cognac outside of France. So maybe it's also mustard. We'll see. And followed that is with a wine tasting. I don't like that I have to pay separately for that, but it's only like, I think it's only like 2,000 Armenian drachma, which I think is only like a few bucks. So in total, like so like my ticket for this whole tour is like $36. So like what, $4 or $5 more for the wine tasting? It's nothing. It's chump change. So I have no idea what I'm here to expect. I'll be honest with you guys. I booked this very last minute. I booked this last night while I was at this really cool bar called the Kamila Ethnic Bar. I've been going for the last couple of nights. The atmosphere is very bohemian, international. It's a really just like chill space. Both times I've gone, I've just gone by myself. I got to try other types of brandy. I also got to try this thing that's kind of like an Armenian version of Jägermeister, which the best way I can describe its taste is like if chai tea and Jägermeister fucked and then they had a gay baby. Like that's the best thing I can put together. So it's not like the same as Jägermeister, but it's even better. It just tastes such a je ne sais quoi to it. I will make sure you guys know the brand of that somewhere around here. And yeah, so we actually gotta get into our Yandex taxi because I need to make sure we get to the meeting point for the tour bus on time. They want us to be there about 20 minutes before 9. That 9 is the hard cutoff time when we're actually leaving. So yeah, it is cold. I think when I woke up this morning it's about 7 degrees Celsius. So I'm wearing shirt, pants. I usually don't wear pants, especially if I know I'm going to be active all day, but the cold here is something different. So just wearing pants. I did bring a change of clothes into shorts just in case it gets too hot. Water, chargers, all that good stuff. So yeah, let's go. Okay guys, so I just got coffee. I almost didn't pay. I feel so bad. So I walked out. I just used the bathroom. I normally pay at the counter and they ran out and they're like, oh, you didn't pay. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like thinking like, should I just like try finding a cash tip to like give them to like say sorry? I wasn't trying to, but I didn't find any like notes that were like small enough. But oh my gosh, this is like one of the worst places I could have accidentally done that. I'm just glad I took my time leaving.
Periods in general, but we have several dates which are very important for us. The first one is 312, when we first adopted Christianity as a state religion. We are apostolic church because in 1st century 2 apostles, Teddy and Padre came here to spread Christianity. The second, but in general we are also Orthodox church, just Oriental branch of Orthodox church.
So we are here in Lake Sevan, which I've been learning on the bus ride here that this is a very sacred place for Armenians. In fact, actually right behind me is the lake itself. And this place is so old, so ancient that there are actually ruins of ancient villages, towns in the lake before it was even a lake. So if that doesn't tell you this is an old fucking place, it's an old fucking place. But the lake is not the only cool thing here. Just a bit above, you have the old monastery. And I don't really have much information about it other than that it is super old, it is post-paganism, but still like hundreds, if not, a couple thousand years old. I was going to go with the tour guide around here, but I had to quickly use the toilet. And then when I came out, they were gone. I had no idea. The van is still here. We have like 20 minutes before we head off to the next spot. So don't worry, guys, I'm not stranded. You hear that? A lot of dogs. Now, this is a common theme in the region: Georgia, Armenia, Iran, Turkey. There's a lot of stray dogs. The dogs here actually seem pretty well fed, pretty friendly. And I don't know if this is how they do it in Armenia, but I know in Georgia that all of the dogs that have been cheated will have a tag on them. But some of these dogs here actually might not necessarily be stray dogs per se. They might actually belong to some people, because down the hill and up the hill, there's a whole line of vendors along the path to the monastery. But it's really, really interesting place. On this way here, I saw a lot of these little shops outside that had all of these glass bottles full of these orange berries. I learned that these were originally brought here by some of the first Russian settlers once post-Armenia joining the Soviet Union. And it's supposed to help with your eyesight, but the tour guide said it hasn't really helped with her eyesight, but it's really good for your skin. These berries, they put them in a jar, bake them in the sun during the summertime, and then in the wintertime, they put water in them, and they're just kind of like an outdoor preservative, juicy drink that you can have. Right now, we got to get back to the bus. Okay, so we have made it to Old Dilijan. Sorry, let me get the background. So this is Dilijan. We are in Dilijan, which is a province within Armenia, I believe, if to my understanding. And what it officially means is it comes from an old folk story where there was a princess and a shepherd, and the shepherd's name was Dili, and he was desperately in love with her. She loved him as well, but unfortunately, they were star-crossed lovers. They were destined to never be able to marry. So her father, the princess's father, the king, had him basically left in the middle of the woods to fend for himself, trying to essentially get him killed. And so obviously his mother was very concerned for him and went out into the woods and cried for Dili. But she didn't just say Dili, she said Dilijan, which is my dear son. And so that's how myth telling, at least, that's how this place got its name. But it doesn't just stop there. You know how I thought that it was about the mustard, Dijon? Well, in the 17th century, the French came out here to spread Catholicism to Armenia, more so than, I guess, already existed here. And what they did is when they came in these luxurious, gilded carriages, and these carriages were called diligence. And so there's two different interpretations, but the gens part and diligence in the French part is not something natural for the Armenian vocabulary. Fun fact about Armenian language is it's apparently one of the most perfect ones in the world. It's set up very well structurally. But yeah, so most Armenians will just go by Dilijan. It just flows better with them. But yeah, so we are doing a little walk through this place called Old Dilijan, which is not that old. It was made in the 19th century as a way to educate people on what life was like in the early days here in the region. It was heavily influenced by Russian settlers. A lot of politicians would come here in the mountain air for a holiday. And despite what you see, there's a lot of snow everywhere. And despite what you see, this is usually known as a very green area, but we've come here at just the tail end of winter. But yeah, so it wasn't just politicians, however, that came here. It wasn't just a aristocratic elite, but very sick people, particularly sick children, would come here because the mountain air was healing. Not to mention this region, Armenia as a whole, is known for its mineral water. And as we all know, mineral water has a lot of healing properties to it. So this town structure, though it's supposed to harken back to yesteryear, you also will see a lot of Imperial Russian influences in the architecture. I wish I could show you more, but yeah. Anyway, we are now headed back to the van. We have a few minutes before we need to leave. We're gonna go to this restaurant. I don't know the name of it. We already put in our orders. I'm getting chicken barbecue, something blah, blah, blah. I'm just happy that they had something that didn't have gluten in it. Because as you know, it's very difficult traveling, particularly in this part of the world, without any, with having a celiac disease. But here, look. Yeah, very beautiful.
This is the western.
Very beautiful.
And here, these two notes are already Azerbaijan. In the middle of Azerbaijan, our country. We can use our social security cards to go there, but better relationship we have with Iran, which is the southern part already of our country, the smallest border that we it's the same. Yes, it's the same. Yes. It's already here. Then we are surrounded by Turkey, and the majority of our country is already Azerbaijan. We are surrounded by Ijevan, which was Armenian land, and Artsakh, which was again Armenian land. We used to make their food, and in the 19th century, when there was a renovation of the monastery, we found a very big pot, which weighs nearly 350 kilos. From those, and people like me, they are put already there as well. This one is the dining room, the refectory of the monks. And the monks in Armenia had very, very simple diet. They didn't eat anything connected to animals. One of the monks usually didn't eat the whole day. He prayed for the rest of congregation. The oldest church that we have is a cluster, essentially one, belongs to 10th century. See how difficult it is to climb down.
Freshest water ever.
Why?
Aww.
Why are you eating now?
You want some?
No, I'm not.
It's not imagine. I gotta try how it is.
Hi.
Why don't you try? Oh.
So good.
Yes, and the history of our museum starts when in 2011 excavation started in the cave, which is called Getahovik 2 Cave. This cave is situated in our region between two villages, Getahovik and Genelhavan. But starting from 2018, our factory started to support all this process, and that is why we have many things that were found in this exposition presented in our museum. So, we are moving to this part. What we have is beautiful fragment of tonnage. Do you know what is tonnage? Yeah. It is the oven in the ground where we bake our bread lavash. So guys, this is a small picture of our region, of how in ancient times our ancestors used to make wine. And right there, you are going to see the harvest, then how the bulls are carrying the harvest, then how the girl crushes the grapes with her feet, which is a traditional Armenian method. Then we save our grape juice in the garas, in the amphora, and then our ancestors are drinking the wine. So this is the whole process of making wine.
The waters receded, and the sacred peak of Ararat once again opened before the sky. In that moment, Noah stepped out of the ark, carrying with him the promise of new life. He knelt on our humble soil, felt its warmth, and planted a grapevine.
We have this beautiful mortar, and on this mortar, we are going to see this beautiful grape. We have this Armenian cross and the face of a man or a god right here. And also we have this Waken destination as well. This is also more than 100 years old. And in some of them, we are keeping one of our best wines, which is called Grikor Naregansi. This wine, for the first time in the history of Armenia, has won Grand Prix in Expo in 2024. And this is a red dry wine from the grape called Armenian, which we buy from the village Aghavnadzor. All these methods on earth. So here as well, we are aging wine right there, and maybe in the future we are going to sell it as well. But right now we don't have any.
Is it similar to the one they do in Georgia, or is
Yes.
some difference?
There are some difference, but the method is just the same. Like we are neighbors and we have the same method about 8,000 years together. So now there is a fight between us.
Yeah, I know.
Which one is the oldest? But I don't see any reason for the fight because like we are neighbors and it is normal that we have had the same method at the same time.
Yeah.
So the shape of the amphora is a little bit different. Like theirs are like sharp like this. And ours is not sharp that enough.
Okay.
The other things are just the same. They're also like bury the caras in the ground.
Maybe they're deeper there. So.
It can be like, but for us, it has some reasons where we like very like this. But also, our corks are from Portugal. Really high quality. They're the best ones in the whole world. So there was a question about the numbers here. And I'm going to show you a secret. Okay? You see this blackboard? So these are the numbers. And we know under what kind of number one wine we are keeping. Okay?
So once we were done with touring the entire winery, we were able to try a few glasses of wine and a few glasses actually of cognac. But what stood out to me the most was this one specific wine that was made out of blackberries. I just literally didn't think you could do that. If I had enough space in my carry-on, I would definitely have gotten a bottle. But yeah, afterwards we headed back to Yerevan, and I waited until the next day to like give you guys a full recap. So yeah, here's me giving the recap of everything that happened yesterday. We got to the winery, which is where we had our food. I had this mix of like couscous, summer vegetables, and grilled chicken. Unfortunately, I keep on forgetting in this country that not all couscous is made out of like corn flour. And so I took my animal brain, saw the summer salad with the couscous, and I just immediately took a big old bite out of it. Then realizing right after that, oh shit, this has fucking gluten in it. So I just had to stop. But so I kind of wish that they had more options but I was still able to eat the rest of like the vegetables on the plate, and the chicken was all right. It was a little tough, but that seems to be like a normal thing here. I think it might be the altitude or that these chickens are really stressed right before they're killed. So anyway, I digress. I don't know if it's the oldest one in Armenia that's specifically wine and not just wine and brandy. It was created in 1951 by the Soviet Union to be able to supply wine for the Union. And it wasn't until 2008 that a couple of well-off Armenian businessmen bought it. This area where they do wine cultivation is more or less the only region that has the most history in it as part of the tour. They have this like little museum underneath the dining area, which is also underneath the wine tasting area. It was really cool, a little funky post-Soviet modern-esque building. Anyway, so we went around it and got a tour, and we got to see 3 different brandy cellars, all differing in wild, like vast ages. And then there was this one room that had like wall-to-wall bottles that were so amazing that they just have them there, and it didn't seem like they really had any like protection, which is crazy because this region gets a lot of earthquakes. You know, it's a very mountainous country. But yeah, all in all, the tour was really informative. We had a really good tour guide. You know, I think she was pretty traditionally Armenian. She had a very stoic approach to everything. But at the end of it, she said that we were her favorite group, which I'm sure she says this to a lot of people, but I think our group was pretty special. So I'm going to take it to heart that she actually meant it, that she actually really enjoyed showing us around. She was very informative and she was very persuasive. There's a guy in the group. He was the only one who didn't have a glass, and she asked him like, "Oh, why don't you have a glass?" And he's like, "I'm not drinking." And she said, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Okay, I'll drink." I'm like, yeah, it's funny. The way that a pretty woman can persuade a man to drink is something that should definitely be studied. Anyway, after the whole wine tasting, we obviously got back on the van and went back to Yerevan. 2-hour drive back, and I have never been dared to drink a lot of alcohol and then immediately get on a bus and be told not to use the toilet for 2 hours. So I tried sleeping, and then halfway through I woke up and I was just like, no, my bladder is like about to burst. And fortunately, despite the driver himself not obviously partaking, I think it was him that like helped move the needles to for us to stop at a rest stop. So that literally saved me. I don't know how I would have been able to. I wouldn't have been able to survive. I literally would have pissed my pants if we didn't get a chance to stop over there. But yeah, the overall, I would totally recommend this journey. We had a lovely tour guide named Anya, and she really made me feel like welcomed in Armenia. It was the first real introduction of Armenia for me in a more knowledgeable historical context. And she was literally like a real life encyclopedia. She was like IRL Google. She just had all the answers. And if she didn't, on the rare occasion, she made sure that she looked it up and made sure that we were given the right information. So all in all, I would highly recommend this tour, going to Lake Sevan and the wine tastings. You get to see such important cultural parts of the country. I will say this, if you go even in early to mid-April, please do bring an extra pair of socks with you. I did not, and I made the grave mistake of having to deal with wet socks the entirety of my trip because, you know, there was still a lot of snow packed in the monasteries and the weather was all right. It wasn't that cold. You still needed a jacket, but it was warm enough, obviously, for the snow to begin melting. So yes, always bring an extra pair of socks. And if you're able to make sure your shoes aren't summer shoes that just have the best ventilation ever, because that's not going to help keep the water from going into your shoes for sure. For sure. If you like this content and more, please make sure to like, subscribe, even share this video with your friends and family who are also interested in learning about different parts of the world. You know, I'm traveling eastwards and this is one of my first stops. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace and love. Bye.